Hey guys, hope everyone is doing well. So today's video is actually a discussion with an aspiring product manager. Uh, the person has great, background and has worked with some of the largest banks in the world. And we are going to discuss about mostly transitioning into product management roles, what steps could be taken to get to, let's say, entry level roles, given the background that the person has. So uh, the person is studying in an international university in Hong Kong, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and is also part of the exchange program with Yale School of Management. So pretty impressive background overall. And without further delay, let's jump into the interview. Now, also, I just wanted to highlight the resume. Before we get into the interview, so have a look at the resume here and see. I think what stands out to you, and why do you think, in spite of such brilliant academic career and great names on the resume, why is that the person is still looking for advice on the product management journey, right? And specifically to get into product management roles, right? So let's jump into the interview. And but I wanted to, I think, obviously understand from your profile. The number one question would be, uh, I think you have definitely a very great background for, let's say, finance roles, right? And I
Yeah.
think all the accomplishments that you have are very, very, distinct, like top of the class, for example. And I think those are, slightly difficult to comprehend in terms of why is it that you are considering a switch to product management, right? Since, I mean, from your resume, for example, like I could see a lot of, I think, stints that you have done, for example, right, for financial services companies, banks, right? So I think one thing that I got from your resume was that it is definitely very well suited for, let's say, financial companies like maybe JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and the like, right? I mean, and within that, maybe, like, I think you can focus on different roles, right? Merger, acquisitions, private equity, whatever it is, right, that interests you. What I'm trying to understand is that, is product management an alternative career choice that you are considering, or are you actually trying uh, to, make a career switch? Because that is where I can actually help you understand, what roles you can actually look for, what a career in product management would look like. So is it right now like you are open to both the financial services companies role and product management role, or you are solely going to focus purely on product management roles?
Yeah, of course. Because based on my CV, most of my internship is done in product management. But previously done some jobs related to product management. For example, last summer I was in Barclays and I worked as a technology analyst. And I did some jobs regarding the product management, which I found myself really interested. So although currently my main career goal is still the financial institution, but I'm thinking because I will soon go to the US, I may try to apply for the product management job. And I also want to learn more about this job. So that's why I get you connected. So yeah, in some aspects, product management is my alternative career goal, and I find myself really interested in it. So, if possible, I want to know more about the product management, like day-to-day work from you. Like, what do you think is the key skill that is needed in a product management job?
Yeah, I think, see, what I can suggest is that, I think for product management, I think there are, I think, two or three distinct ways to get that kind of a role. So I don't know what companies you have shortlisted, but I think, given your background, I think fintech companies, right, the financial tech companies like Stripe, for example, right, payment gateways, right, that, I think, those kind of companies like PayPal, for example, right, another one. Uh, Then of course I think the banks do have product management roles. Like so, for example, J.P. Morgan, Goldman, I think they would have it in their technology division where you know you will find it easy to I would say fit in because you understand. I think the financial service working of the financial services industry, right? So your question was
Yeah.
around like what are the key skills, right? So I think typically for product management, you would need, I think, three or four, like I would say, skill sets. Either you bring in very strong expertise in domain, which I think you have. Like so, for example, you understand how a bank functions, right? What is credit? What is lending out? For example, what does it mean to have let's say transactions right in the bank, the ledger, all of that, right? Cycle, whether it's on the institutional side, on the retail side, whatever it is, right? I mean, you do understand, I think. So that is one expertise that you carry with yourself. I think in terms of the key skills, right, for product management, I think problem solving definitely is required, which means that you will have to spend a lot of time in understanding if you are building out a, let's say, tech product for a bank, right? What is it that the
Yeah.
customers would benefit from, right? So product management is purely about problem space. It is not about the solution. It is always about the problem space. What is the number one, or let's say the top problems that your customers are facing? And how do you think about problems? I think is usually, let's say, it could be a mobile banking app, or I don't know, maybe a web app, for example, for banks, right? Where I don't know, maybe the customers are facing problem in logging, or maybe they're spending a lot of time on the onboarding screen, etc., etc., right? So essentially, I think for product management, understanding the problem space is very important. And if you bring in the domain expertise, that means you have more command of understanding the problems, right? So I think that would be my, number one recommendation as part of key skills, identifying the problem. What I would also recommend is that understand, I think, some frameworks, right? Understand, let's say, the RISE framework, right? Understand, let's say, prioritization framework, right? Like, how do you prioritize? So, if I'm giving you 10 problems, which one will you prioritize first to solve, right? And why would you do that, right? So,
Yeah.
prioritization for a product manager is like super, super important. Uh, I think, other than that, yes, I mean, you need to understand the tech stack, the technology stack, which on which your product is going to be built, right? So there's going to be a front end, there's going to be a back end, uh, and how do you learn about these? There are enough, I think, a material, I think, that is available if you find, I think, product management. But I can recommend you, I think, couple. I think there is one called designgurus.io. Let me just, I think, type it for you. I think that one, designgurus.io. I think that one, and of course, I also run, I think, my own like YouTube channel, and of course, like mentorship, I think, practices. But I think what I would recommend is whether you come to me or anyone else, I think there needs to be some structure to your preparation of product management roles. So you should know that, okay, fintech companies, right? Financial technology companies, fintech companies like Stripe, PayPal that we discussed, those are your target. If you're looking at Amazon, Google, Google also has payment, right? I mean, so Google Payments, for example, could be your direct, like, match. If you're saying like I want to get a job in YouTube, right? For then you need to basically show what are the skill sets that they are looking at, right? So go through the job
Yeah.
description and understand, try to understand what is it that they are looking at, right? They might be looking at some technology expertise. I don't know. Maybe they are looking at GCP or like AWS expertise, right? Cloud expertise. So I think your first few days should be just identifying the skills that are needed, right? And I do a very similar, like simple analogy. If you were to become a lawyer, then you should know what a lawyer is going to do, right? So similarly, I
Yeah.
think a product manager in a tech company is a very specific skill set that is needed, right? There is enough, I think, material, preparation material, right? That is available. You can join, I think, any of those. There is Try Exponent also, very specific to tech companies. Uh, uh, so I think preparation is definitely required. You'll have to go through a lot of mocks, for example, right? Either with your classmates who are also in your similar situation, aspiring to be product managers, or your seniors. I think you should reach out. Now, I think coming to the question of how do you get into, like, let's say, a product manager role. with a bank. I mean, let's say that is your, like, so I would say, for example, since you are also an exchange student at Yale, right? Try,
Yes.
I think, connecting with the Yale alumni on LinkedIn or wherever, like, your, let's say, university database, in those specific roles that are actually the people that are actually doing that role. I think that is your best bet in actually understanding what do they do in their day to day life. I can of course talk about my, like, experience, what I do. But if you're looking at, I think, roles, let's say in US, or I don't know, maybe UK, Europe, I don't know, like probably anywhere like in the world, right? You should be able to, I think, one is that you shortlist a set of companies that you're looking at. Two, I think, get your alumni network into picture. They are the best resource, I think, that can tell you that what is the role going to entail. They are also going to refer you, right? I mean, given that
Mhm.
you are from the same school, right? So I
Yeah.
think you should, I mean, I am not going to repeat what your career teams are probably also going to tell you. But I think networking is an very underestimated, like, I think, route.
Yeah.
Networking is definitely required. I think it is super competitive right now because of the layoffs and whatnot, I think, going on globally. So everyone is looking at product management roles, which is why I'm also saying, and I also insist that whatever is your strength, right? So obviously your profile, your strength is mostly on the financial services side, right? Cast your net a little wide, which means also look at roles in financial services, let's say in mergers and acquisitions, or I don't know, investment analysis. I don't know, maybe other, like, offerings that are there in the banks, right? Product management is just one aspect of the technology department within a bank, right? That would be my suggestion to you. Of course, it will need, I think, a structured approach, 3 to 6 months of structured approach. So, in your school, for example, maybe you can look at attending courses that are giving you glimpse of what is product management, right? Attend those courses without fail. Whether you have to do it on extra credits or no credits, whatever it is, I think figure a way out. You should know, right? And your profs also, your professors are also a very, I would say, like, great resource to connect you with, let's say, companies. You might have profs that have might be advisors, for example, to banks or to tech companies, right? So you should definitely go out, talk to them that this is what you are looking at, and can you please help? I know that there will be 100 other students also, but that is part of the MBA or the MS program, right? So I think that clarifies your question, or set of questions that you had.
Yeah, that's good. And regarding what you have said, you said that the problem solving or understanding the problems, the consumers is very key skills in that management. I'm very curious because since I'm like business background, if I don't understand any coding or some technical skills, but just some consulting skills, does that really matter? Or how do you think a student without some technical background can successfully navigate to the product management role?
So I think tech skills are just one part of the product management. If you bring in, I think, the domain expertise, right, of understanding the space, right. So what I mean by space is, for example, if you are coming from logistics background, right, then you understand how the
Yeah,
logistics companies function, right? How does the warehousing for logistics companies function? What is the order management system, etc., etc., right? If you're working, let's say, in aerospace or robotics, like, space, then you understand, for example, how are planes manufactured or drones manufactured, right? So your case, I think, domain expertise of finance is going to be super critical. That is going to be a number one asset that you are going to sell to the companies, that you understand how banks function or a function within a bank functions, and what is the problem space, right? So what I recommend
yeah,
usually is that when you are looking at a role in a bank, go through the job description, look at your resume, and try to map the transferable skills for the role.
mm,
What are your transferable skills? So, for example, in private equity, you might be asked to do due diligences, right? Merger and acquisitions,
yeah,
whether you understand due diligences, have you done enough of due diligences on, let's say, companies? For product
Yeah.
management, it would be, have you worked enough in identifying problem spaces and how have you prioritized those, right? So every product management role will have that, job description. I would say that what are the key skills or the key words that are there in your product management job description have to also reflect in your resume, without fail. Otherwise, no matter how qualified you are not going to get any calls, or you might get some calls here and there, but not the calls that you expect, right? So, what when I was in the business school in the US, I had like some 4 or 5 different kind of resumes depending on the role that I'm applying for. So, if I'm applying for product management roles, my profile would highlight only my product management skills. If I am looking for, let's say, consulting, then I have to highlight
Mm-hmm.
my consulting skill sets, right? If I'm looking for tech roles, like a tech manager or whatever, then that is what I have to highlight, right? So I think you need to have a bunch of different resumes, and depending on whom you are networking with, you talk about those skill sets. Depending on you, if you are applying for uh, those particular kind of roles, you only speak about those skill sets that are relevant to that particular role. So that would be my suggestion. I am more than happy to, obviously talk further, about how do you go about preparing a product management resume. But that, I think, is not a very difficult task in my mind. I think you can look at, I think, multiple job descriptions. You'll get an idea what is actually required. Figure out a way. There are, in fact, I think, websites that give you a matching score. I think I'm sure you're aware of it. Like if you post the job description and you post your resume, it will give you how much of a matching is happening. That score, the higher that score, I think the better it is. So it is obviously making your life easy. Other than that,
Yeah.
I think you should speak to product managers in industry to understand what they are doing. So, for example, I'll just give you, since we are going to end this call in 5 minutes, I will give you an idea of what I do on a day to day basis. So,
Like you
I
do.
think, day would probably, let's say, start uh, with interactions with customers, and the customers can be based anywhere. We, let's say, in the space that we are in enterprise tech or any tech company, right? There is, let's say, a product, and I am responsible for maintaining a part of the product line, which could be, let's say, messaging services, right? So let's say I am managing messaging services of a platform, right? That could be a role. Now, there are some customers that will come and ask me that your messaging services are shit and it's not working, and half of the time it crashes. Half of the time I'm not able to get the notifications. Half of the time the notifications reach, but they reach with a lot of delay, right? So these are some of the problems that are my customers are telling me that uh, I am not able to use your messaging service for whatever reason. So customer interaction, I think, goes without fail. There is not a single day that I am not interacting with customers. So you have to highlight that in your resume, in your product management resume. What is the part where you have interacted with the customers, understood their problems, and then worked with cross-functional teams. So I do work with a lot of cross-functional teams, and I am sure like a lot of product managers do. You have to work with marketing for the release. So let's say we fixed a notification delay, right? That was happening for a lot of customers. We maybe upgraded the stack, or we had a solution in place that we implemented for the customers, and then the problem was solved. So marketing is going to do a communication around it, that we solve this problem or a new feature is released. Customer support teams are going to reach out to the customers who had raised the concern, that are you happy or not. Then there's going to be
Definitely.
obviously your engineering team and the design teams. So if it is a design heavy feature, for example, the number of clicks are too much to get to your messaging system, I reduce the number of clicks, correct? Design will be involved. So there are, I think, those aspects also that I interact with different teams. It can be like a bunch of teams. So that is another skill set that you need to highlight in your resume. Cross-functional teams that you have interacted with,
Mm-hmm.
and you are the person who is driving this basically forward, right? No one else is going
Yeah.
to basically care about, I think, driving the, let's say, feature delivery or the product delivery. But you are the sole person who is responsible, who is bringing everyone together and ensuring that the customers are basically happy. end of the day, right? So because they are paying for your product, they're using the product, they're paying you for the product. So this is how it is in enterprise world. I think enterprise tech, I think it is similar. It's going to be very similar in, let's say, companies like Stripe, PayPal, where they might be, let's say, introducing a new functionality on, I don't know, maybe they are just introducing a new functionality to do cross-border transactions, right? Let's say from Hong Kong to US, you want to do a cross-border transaction with one click, two click, whatever it is, right? This is a problem space. I don't think there is a lot of companies that are solving it. So how are you going to solve this? So in your problem,
Yeah, I would.
yeah, in your product
Thank
management,
you.
in your product management
Yeah.
interviews, you are also going to be expected to kind of solve a lot of cases, but those will be very specific to product management cases. Unlike your consulting cases, which is looking at profit and loss, growth, and all of that, these will be very specific to product management.
Yes, I will do that. And since it will be ended, I would like to thank you for your time tonight. Thank you so much. I really
Eh,
learned a lot. And I
yeah,
will do more research and snacks and research for the job description and monitor my CV after that. Thank
sure.
you. Let's keep connected.
Yep,
Thank
no problem.
you.
Yep, bye for now.